Once you are past your mid-40s, it's not uncommon to find yourself working alongside colleagues young enough to be your children. Sometimes, you might even end up with a boss who's younger than your own kids. Normally, being bossed around by whippersnappers would be enough to bring a man to tears. But when you're a seasoned veteran like me, just a regular employee, you learn not to let that kind of thing bother you. One day, there was a major shuffle in the company, and we were getting a new boss. The name written on the transfer notice was Ashley. My colleagues were abuzz, wondering about having a female boss, but that name rang a bell for me. It was the same as Tyler's daughter, a close friend from high school. It's not such an uncommon name, probably just a coincidence. But my jaw dropped when I saw her at the morning meeting. Effective today, I'll be taking over as a manager of Sales Department Section 3. My name's Ashley. I look forward to working with everyone. The new boss was clearly a high flyer. Her long straight hair, bright red lipstick, and pantsuit all screamed competence. She looked to be in her mid-20s. If she's made manager at that age, she must be incredibly capable. Is she still a student? It could like, that's a manager. Isn't she a decade younger than Mason? Poor Mason. I could overhear my colleagues whispering. They seemed pretty hung up on her age. Quiet, please. Without a care for the unsettled mood, she clapped her hands, silencing everyone instantly. As you can see, I am young, much younger than all of you, and it's natural to feel uneasy, but I earned this position on my merits. In terms of job skills and position, I am above all of you. Instead of wasting time on trivial things like age or gender, focus on achieving results. Outperform me fair and square. Her statement froze the room. She was right, but it was a hard pill to swallow for us older guys. Not just the regular employees, but even the section chief, Mason, was grimacing. Ashley, after the meeting, I approached her. Do you remember me? I'm Ryan. I had a hunch when I saw the transfer notice, but seeing her face confirmed that she was Tyler's daughter. She frowned and glared at me. Your dad's Tyler, right? We were best friends in high school. I even played with you after you were born. Remember? After a moment of thought, she whispered something. Do you remember me now? I sort of remember you now. Long time no see, Ryan. Long time no see. Last time I saw you, you were in elementary school. You've grown up so much. I guess I'm really an old man now. I laughed, but she remained serious. I am the manager of the sales department. Our relationship is strictly professional, so please don't be so familiar. With those cold words, she quickly left. I wonder how her dad's doing. I haven't heard from him in about 10 years. Without answering, she left the room without looking back. What was with that attitude? So different from when she was a little girl. Well, I guess that's to be expected. It's been so long since we last met. She's grown up, and people change. But still, she was so different from the Tyler's daughter I remembered. She was as capable as she seemed, but her unyielding demeanor made her quite a few enemies. She was a perfectionist at work, where results were everything to her. She didn't hesitate to speak up against anyone, always delivering hard truths. If there was even a slight fault in someone else, she wouldn't let it go until they admitted their mistake, never backing down herself. Because of this attitude, her reputation among the colleagues was pretty bad. No matter how good she is at her job, that attitude is just not okay. With that strong personality, she'll never find a partner. She'd be pretty if she just kept quiet. I've often seen colleagues whispering such things behind her back. Oh, brother. Instead of secretly complaining, they should work harder and try to outperform Ashley. Envy means they want to advance, right? As for me, I don't really care if a younger person becomes my boss. In fact, I think it's good for the future of the company to have young, talented people moving up. especially if it's someone I know. I'd rather support them than hold them back. A screw-up old guy like me should just stick to being a regular employee. But then, a situation arose where I couldn't just take it easy. I was assigned to a new project, along with her. Make sure you do a good job, Ryan. We know you're more capable than you let on, so we're counting on you for this project. Mason and the other colleagues said encouraging things, patting me on the back. These guys, they just didn't want to work with her and dumped it on me, didn't they? This was a big project, honestly too much for me, but since no one else volunteered, I had to accept it. And today, it was just the two of us meeting to discuss it. "You're 2 minutes late." As soon as I entered the meeting room, she said that. "I just stopped by the restroom. My apologies. I had informed you of the start time. Please make sure you act in time, and stop saying my apologies." "I'm sorry. I'll be more punctual next time." She let out an obvious sigh. "Ryan, I just don't see any motivation in you. Why did Mason recommend you for this project? Maybe because I looked free." I couldn't tell her that I was probably pushed into this by Mason and the others, so I brushed it off, and she frowned as usual. "How old are you again?" "Next year I'll be the same age as your father, 50. And you're not embarrassed to still be a regular employee." "Why should I be embarrassed? Capable people get promoted, and those who aren't stay regular employees. I'm just content with the system." "Don't you want to advance?" "I'm fine where I am right now." "That's just sad." She said that, wrinkling her face in disappointment. "Do you have any kids?" "I'm a proud bachelor." "I see. Maybe that's for the best. If I had a father like you, I'd probably despise him." Her unapologetic way of speaking made me laugh. But honestly, I think the same. I wouldn't want a dad who lacks motivation at work. Marriage itself just doesn't seem right for me. I've liked many women, but I could never bring myself to want to share their lives with me. Marriage and parenting. Taking on such responsibilities that you can't easily shed. No thank you, that's still my view. Since it's the only life I have, I want to live it fully for myself. I guess that's just the kind of person I am. Why are you laughing? Sorry, you're absolutely right. I'm not cut out to be a parent. Someone like Tyler should be the one. Are you talking about my father? Yeah, is he doing okay? No news is good news, they say, but with him, it's probably just laziness and writing. As I said this and looked at her, she still had that stern look on her face. Why such a long face? It's not cute. A woman needs to be charming. Charm is not required in business, and please stop using such outdated phrases. Outdated. They sound old-fashioned. Knowing I'm an older man is one thing, but being told directly stings a bit. Ignoring my forced smile, she left the room. I felt a real distance between us. Of course, some of it is due to the unnecessary things I say, but even excluding that, it's like she intentionally keeps her distance whenever I try to talk about anything other than work. Especially when I try to talk about Tyler, it feels like she intentionally creates distance. Despite her aloof attitude, the project we were working on together was progressing better than I thought. Even though she was curt, her thoughts came across clearly, and the interaction flowed smoothly, with negotiations going well. Ryan, you're actually good at your job. I was secretly pleased to hear her say that. Then, one day, as our project was reaching its climax, I noticed something was off with her from the morning. She looked pale and distracted, fidgeting and checking her phone repeatedly, then staring blankly into space. She was definitely not her usual self. If you're feeling sick, maybe you should go home early today. No, I'm fine. With that look, you won't be able to work today. Go home. This is an order from an adult. Understood. Unusually subdued, she quickly agreed and prepared to leave. Just before leaving the room, she turned back suddenly. Ryan. Yeah, never mind, it's nothing. I'll be leaving first. As she walked away, her back looked frail, and I couldn't help feeling anxious. What could have happened to her? That night, I got a call from someone claiming to be Tyler's relative. Hello, is this Ryan? I have to tell you something. I rushed to the hospital they mentioned. Tyler in critical condition with terminal cancer. Wasn't no news supposed to be good news? She must have known about this. That's probably why she felt so distant whenever I talked about Tyler. Her odd behavior today must have been because of this. Driving to the hospital, my mind was racing with thoughts. Please make it in time, I prayed as I sped up. Tyler. When I burst into his hospital room, I found doctors and nurses surrounding his bed. I didn't make it in time. As I almost sat down in despair, two people standing beside the bed turned around. One was the woman from Tyler's family, who called me, and the other was Tyler's daughter, my boss. Her eyes were red and swollen with tears. How long has he been in this condition? Sitting down together in the lounge on the sofa, I asked her about everything that had happened. He's been in and out of the hospital for about 2 years, she answered quietly, looking down. The thin gray handkerchief she was clutching was wet and discolored from her tears. Just seeing that, I felt I understood all the emotions she had been holding back. You've done really well. As I patted her shoulder, it seemed to release everything she'd been holding back, and she started crying intensely. My dad might not make it. Her trembling back seemed so much smaller than when I saw her at work. She's always so strong and competent. A real career woman, but in truth, she's still just a young girl. I patted her shoulder again, and she hugged me, crying. I just let her be until she calmed down, and after a while, she started to share more about her life. Tyler's wife had passed away from illness a few years ago, and since then, it had just been the two of them supporting each other. No wonder the call today came from a relative instead of his wife. Tyler, you rascal. Why didn't you tell me something this important? I could have helped if you had told me, but you've always been too responsible and bad at asking for help, and now you've left without saying anything. I'm all alone now. As I remembered Tyler, she murmured softly. Parents are supposed to go first, but isn't this too soon? I haven't been able to show my filial piety enough, nor have I been able to depend on him. Her lonely voice reminded me of the times we used to play together when she was little. I read somewhere that children complete their filial duties by the age of 3. Anything beyond that is like a bonus stage. Having grown up and shown him you've become a respectable adult, that's more than enough filial piety, isn't it? What is that? I've never heard of that before. She finally relaxed her expression and smiled a little. Not enough pampering. Well, I guess it can't be helped. Consider me your dad's best friend, as your father from now on. Think of me as your dad and pamper yourself all you want. I exaggeratedly spread my arms and said, come on. She looked stunned at first, but then burst out laughing. I thought you said you weren't cut out to be a parent. I'll start practicing now. It doesn't seem likely. Her joking smile, though her eyes were still red, was her usual self. If I could depend on the Ryan I remember from my childhood, I would. Don't compare me to the me from decades ago. I'm just an old man now. Stop playing with an old man's heart. Thank you, Ryan. I vividly remember the Ryan from my childhood who used to play with me. She said this with a bright smile. And that's how my life took a big turn. From being a single, positionless old man with nothing, suddenly I had a grown daughter. She still works hard at her job, being curt with everyone including me, but on weekends, she comes to my place and cooks for me. At home, she shows a softer side, different from at work. I tell her she could be nicer at work too. Mixing personal and professional life is the last thing you should do. she retorted with her usual straightforward logic. If you're going to play the father role, you need to get that right too. A responsible daughter is surprisingly a lot of work. As I said this and pursed my lips, Ashley chuckled in amusement. I actually think having an unreliable father is kind of nice. After all, my dad was so competent, there wasn't much to take care of. Really? Should I become more sloppy then? That's not what I mean. Ashley was humming a tune while arranging the food. Is this what it's like to have a family? Thanks to you, Ryan, I'm getting some good practice for being a bride. Bride training. You got someone in mind? Well, yeah, but it's not that far along yet. What's with that vague answer? Who is he? He better be a stand-up guy, or I won't approve. At least he's more accomplished than the perennially regular employee, Ryan. Ouch. That reaction is so old man-like. Who would have thought I'd come to understand the feelings of a father with a daughter? But it's not a bad feeling at all. Tyler. Rest easy over there with your wife. I'll take good care of your precious daughter in your stead.